Well, hey everybody, this is a good one. Not only do we have Lionel's brand new Western Maryland 1309 2662 steam locomotive, but we also have a new all-time pulling champion coming up right now on Eric's Trains. All right, so it is early June 2024, and Lionel just released all of their brand new 2662 steam locomotives, including Western Maryland 1309, which is what I got. Now, the cool thing about this locomotive is that it's meant to run with the matching Western Maryland passenger cars that Lionel offered in the same catalog. Those passenger cars, there were 5 of them. They arrived a couple months ago, and I already shot a video on just those passenger cars. If you want to watch that video, I'll put a link to it in this video. Anyway, this should be a lot of fun, because we're finally going to get to run those Western Maryland passenger cars with 1309, and we also have a new pulling champion in the making. We'll get to that later in this video. So without further ado, let's get started with the unboxing of 1309. All right, so here's the box that the 2662 arrived in. Western Maryland Legacy 2662 number 1309. With an on-the-water date of 3/19/2024. And for today's unboxing, from my knife collection, we'll be using this guy. Actually, this is brand new, just got it. This is a Victorinox Ranger Grip 55 Onyx Black. It's a beautiful knife. I've got a label on it because when you've got a large Swiss Army knife collection, many of them look the same, and so I started putting labels on them so I can differentiate between them. Anyway, it's got that kind of onyx black finish on the metal. Looks great. So let's crack this open. And there's the box tag. Again, Western Maryland Legacy 2662 number 1309. Legacy and Bluetooth control, Legacy rail sounds, whistle steam, fan-driven smoke, and 054 minimum curve. And the model number is 2431240. And there we have the instructions, always good to read. And here we go. It's heavy. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. Gorgeous. And let's check out the tender. Love it. I love that little fireball thing for the Western Maryland. Looks great. All right, and here it is on the layout. This thing looks fantastic. So let's start things off with a bit of history on the real 1309. So Western Maryland 1309 is a compound articulated class H6 Mallet type steam locomotive with a 2662 wheel arrangement. And that of course means you have 2 wheels up front, then 6 drive wheels, then another 6 drive wheels, and then finally 2 wheels underneath the cab. 1309 was the very last steam locomotive built by Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1949, and it was originally operated by the C&O, where it pulled coal trains until its retirement in 1956. In 1972, 1309 was moved to the B&O Railroad Museum for static display until 2014, when it was purchased by the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad, and they undertook a multi-year effort to restore it to operating condition. The restoration was completed on December 31st, 2020, and the locomotive entered tourist excursion service for the WMSR on December 17th, 2021. And that marked the first time that an articulated locomotive operated in the eastern U.S. since the retirement of NMW 1218 in 1991. All right, so that takes care of the history. Now let's turn our attention to the Lionel model that we have here. So Lionel offered the new 2662 in their 2023 Volume 2 catalog, and these were delivered just a couple weeks ago here in the spring of 2024. Now, obviously, they did Western Maryland 1309, but they also did 5 other road names for the 2662. They did Denver Rio Grande number 3302, they did Nickel Nickel Plate Road 942. They did Northern Pacific 3110, NNW 1303, and Weyerhaeuser Lumber number 120. Now, no matter which road name you get, whether it's 1309 or one of the other road names, the minimum required curve is 054, and the retail price is right at $1,800. All right, so let's get some stats on this thing. The overall length is right at 25.5 inches. And we'll get a weight. The locomotive weighs 8 pounds, 10.5 ounces. The tender weighs 2 pounds, 15 ounces. And let's get a combined weight so that we don't have to do any math. 11 pounds, 9.7 ounces. Not bad. All right, now let's talk about the pulling power on the new 2662. Now, before I tested it, I was expecting it would be somewhere around maybe 2 or 3 pounds of pulling power, which would be very healthy. However, I was completely shocked. When I tested the pulling power for the new 2662, it maxed out at 5 pounds, 11 ounces. Yes, well over 5.5 pounds of pulling power. To my knowledge, that is the most pulling power I have ever seen from any O-gauge locomotive ever. So this is now the all-time pulling champ as far as I know. 5 pounds, 11 ounces, that is absolutely insane. I don't know what Lionel has been doing to these locomotives over the last few years, but the pulling power has been going up and up and up over the last 2 or 3 years, and it's been crazy. And, you know, the models aren't different, so I have to think maybe it's the motor driver board or something. But yeah, 5 pounds, 11 ounces, that is absolutely crazy. With that amount of pulling power, you should be able to pull maybe 70 or 80 cars without issue. But you know what? Let's have a little bit of fun and test that. All right, so we've got 1309 on the upper level here for the pulling test. Now, my layout is not large enough where I can just put an unlimited number of cars behind a locomotive, because at some point the locomotive will end up hitting the back of the train. But what I can do is a weight equivalency test, which is what we've got here. And the best things that I know to test the pulling power of a locomotive are Atlas Master Series freight cars, specifically the Atlas auto carriers and the Atlas Gunderson well cars. Each auto carrier weighs a little over 3 pounds, and each well car weighs about 2 pounds. So I started off with all 20 of my Atlas auto carriers and 6 of the well cars behind 1309. That comes out to about 72 to 74 pounds of weight. That's the equivalent of about 80 of your average O-scale freight cars, or about 35 to 40 of the Lionel 21-inch passenger cars. And that test was not a complete success. 1309 was able to pull them, but just barely, and the wheels were starting to slip. So I took away 3 of the Atlas well cars. So now we've got all 20 of the Atlas auto carriers and 3 of the Gunderson well cars. That's the equivalent of about 66 to 68 pounds, which means about 75 of your average O-scale freight cars, or about 32 to 35 of the Lionel 21-inch passenger cars, which is a ton of weight for one locomotive to pull. And this is 3 more cars than we pulled with the Chessie Greenbrier, which was a monster puller that Lionel released last year. And I should say that even with subtracting the 3 well cars, this is still the most weight I've ever put behind a single locomotive. So watch what it does. And there you go, it's doing it. This is absolutely incredible. I mean, I've never seen a single locomotive pull this much weight. Yeah, I still can't believe it. 5 pounds, 11 ounces. As far as I'm concerned, this is now the all-time pulling champ. And the funny thing is that I'm sure Lionel will probably put out another engine at some point in the future that beats that. What engine will that be? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. All right, the last thing we're going to do before we start this thing up is... All right, so my pick for BFIMO this time around, a no-brainer, it's the pulling power. Again, 5 pounds, 11 ounces. To my knowledge, that is the highest pulling power that I've ever seen in a test, and it makes this the all-time pulling champion, which, again, is just insane. All right, now comes the fun part. Let's go ahead and start this thing up.
Train 1 brakeman, we have good initial terminal brake test on timetable train number 1. Over.
That's a roger. We have good initial terminal brake test on timetable train number 1. Out.
All right, first up, let's check out the whistle, and this does come with a choice of 5 whistles and 5 bells. My favorite whistle is number 1, mainly because it sounds the most like the whistle on the real 1309, but let me know which whistle is your favorite. And now let's check out the bells. My favorite bell is number 5. Let me know which one is your favorite. Here's the cylinder steam sound. And here's the sound of water being added to the tender.
Our water's full. Out.
And we've also got the sound of coal being added to the tender.
My coal's full. Out.
There's this cool kind of pop-off steam hiss if we press and hold the aux 3 key on the legacy remote. Let's check that out. And lastly, here's a sampling of some of the crew talk sounds.
Dispatcher, air is made. Brake test complete. Are we clear to pull? Over.
Hold your position. Out.
Timetable only gives us 10 minutes for this stop. I'll tend the fire. Go top off the tank. Safeties are lifted. Ease off the coal till we get a signal. Air test is good. Ready to pull. Gonna be here a while. Timetable has reporting here for number 9. She's running about 20 minutes late. Train order say holding the siding until 44 clears, then we can take the main. He should be through any minute. Better tend to that fire while we're waiting. Gonna be a hard pull ahead. Dispatcher, we're ready. Is it okay to pull? Over.
Take the green. Out.
Your attention, please. The Western Maryland Phoenix is now boarding. Ladies and gentlemen, the Western Maryland Phoenix is now boarding.
All aboard the Western Maryland Scenic! Time to board the Western Maryland Scenic! Please set your luggage over there. All aboard! All aboard!
Attention, folks. First seating is now open in the dining car. Thanks for your patience. The dining car is now open for the second seating.
We're signing out and going to beans. Out.
All right, there you have it. Lionel's new Western Maryland 1309 2662 steam locomotive. This thing is so cool. And again, that pulling power is just at insane levels. Now, if you'd like to get one of these things for yourself, again, whether it's 1309 or one of the other road names I mentioned, the retail price is the same. It's right at $1,800. Now, keep in mind that is the retail price. If you go through a good Lionel dealer, you should be able to get a decent discount off that retail price. And as always, if you're looking for a good Lionel dealer, try my favorite train store, which is Legacy Station. You can find them on the web at legacystation.com or give them a call at 770-339-7780. If you'd like to support this channel, I would greatly appreciate it. That can be done through Patreon at patreon.com/ericstrains. Patreon supporters get access to all sorts of perks and benefits, and you can read about those benefits on my Patreon page. I'd like to put a big thank you out there to all of my current Patreon supporters. Your support means the world, not only to me, but to the future of this channel. And an extra super big thank you goes out to my premium tier Patreon supporters. You'll see their names at the end of this video. Lastly, if you'd like to pick up some Eric's Trains merchandise, you can check out my online store at ericstrains.com/store. You can get t-shirts and jackets and sweaters and mugs and coffee cups and all sorts of cool stuff, so feel free to check that out. Anyway, that's going to do it for now. I'm Eric Siegel. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. To discuss this model and any other O-Gauge trains, check out the O-Gauge Railroading online forum at ogrforum.ogaugerr.com.